for those of you who are just fresh off surgery, you have predominantly liquid-based foods. And of course that includes your protein shakes, includes your milk and your yogurt, low-fat, low-sugar puddings and jello and popsicles. So it's kind of monotonous, harsh 2 weeks. And for those of you who, of course, have been through this, know that comes day 10, day 11, you are just desperate to chew on something, even if it's the sponge in the sink or in the bathtub, right? So, and then we get this phone call, and Joanne, who's always there receiving the calls, Joanne, you're hearing me, right? You're the one that they call, and they say, I need to eat something. What can I eat? And of course, she's going to go through the list and tell you. And some of you already spontaneously go for the hard-boiled egg, or the string cheese, or something like that. So the transition from the first phase to the second phase is the most exciting, in a sense that because you're kind of just desperate, and you know, it's the most endearing thing. I was just telling Ryan and Evan that when I talk to the patients in the clinic, when they're transitioning after 2 weeks, I say, okay, now you can have some tuna and egg, and it's as if tuna is the world's greatest gift, or the egg, and just, oh my God, I can have this. So it's really delightful to see that. And that is the biggest transition, really, from the liquid to the soft food phase. Patients say, oh wow, I got all this to try. And the thing that we always tell you is just don't mix too much in one go, because you kind of are getting to that stage where, as I said, you want to chew and you want to move fast. And you get to put 3-4 things in one day, and then suddenly you realize, okay, I'm not feeling so good. Which one was it? Right? So stage it, plan it out for the entire 2 weeks. One day, maybe one item or 2 items, and that's it. And then that way, it's much more staged, and you tolerate it better. Salmon, great source of protein, great source of omega-3 fatty acids. You got the avocado, great source of fatty acids. You have, of course, the healthy fats. You have the protein base. You have the lentil soup that is really awesome because it carries with it the iron and the protein and the antioxidant properties. The transition then from second phase to third phase is not as interesting perhaps, because you've already kind of satisfied that craving, but it's the important transition, because we want you to recognize that you're now back to your baseline. Okay, this is not an operation synonymous with cabbage soup diet for the rest of your life. It's an operation that is a tool, and you're going to have all the good healthy things that you are used to having. The turkeys and the fish and the chicken and the meatballs and the fruits, because at that stage already you're able to carry and transition to having your 3 portions of your meal, which is your protein-based, the vegetables and fresh fruits, and your carbohydrates. And you have a sampling of all of those. And also you have to recognize you can have the fresh fruits that are full of iron, the berries, the blackberry, the blueberry, fruits that are fluid-laden, the cantaloupe and the watermelon. And of course, the sweets every now and then. And these are, I haven't tasted them, but you know, a couple of you have already commented that you like the fact that they have the crunchiness and the sweetness, but actually they're sugar-free. So it's good to know there's so much options out there. Like the mushroom that we put out, we talked about things that you make in a soupy form soft, or things that are really, imagine you have very little teeth and you have to squash this with your palate. And so the filling in the mushroom was almond, and I had no idea. Susie told me this, and it's amazing because almond is a great source of protein, of course. So it's very creative and really easy to prepare.
Making sure you have a nice low-fat gravy in there, because if you just put them on a plate, they're just gonna sit there and dry out. But having something that they can swim in is always helps keep them wet. Basically, it's pretty easy. The gravy, it's a low-fat, low-salted gravy. So, but it's still flavor. It's still flavorful, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, I would think you brown them off and then finish them, cook them in the gravy, and let them cook long and low. And they'll just like braise through.
And let me add, gravy. You think of gravy, you think of flour, right? Right? But you can take, your meatballs and put them in a little bit of broth. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be flour. And then you,
Okay.
And then I sometimes do the flaxseed, grounded one, grounded flaxseed.
Flaxseed.
That really makes
Yeah,
that's a good
moisture.
idea.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
I put in a quinoa too, so it's like makes a ball. Yeah.
actually my favorite dish tonight was the mushrooms. And the mushrooms are superb. And when Evan was telling me, first decided to put almonds in it, he was a little bit worried about it. And you can see they came out beautiful.
Yeah, they wouldn't know there was almonds in there.
Yeah. It kind of just took the place of the breadcrumbs. Normally you put breadcrumbs in there to help bind it together. Almonds, you food process them, mix them up with the stems of the mushrooms, a little garlic, little onions, and that's it. Just kind of blend it up, and that's your filling right there.
So an ounce of it probably has about, what, 10, 12 grams of carbs?
That's high in protein.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a grain.
Yeah.
Right,
So-
grain,
so-
but high protein.
Yeah, so I mean, I think you should definitely be okay as a third item to have it. And you know, you typically are going to have 2 or 3 ounces of your protein, maybe an ounce of your vegetables, and then your final ounce of the grain. And you're probably going to get about 5 or 10 grams of carbs and about 10, 15 grams of protein from that.
You can cook really moist too, and then you can put a little bit coconut oil later, and then put some fennel or some spices, so that makes more flavor. And then you can boil with broth too, so it makes that more moisture, and then it give you more protein than rice or other grains.
You were saying like with tofu, I mean, there's a lot of things you can do with tofu.
Right.
If you press it, it can get a little more firm for you. Or actually at home, we actually put it in the freezer, and then when we take it out of the freezer, a lot of that moisture is already out of it, so it has more of a firm, like, yeah. They
You can
make
slice
me make
it,
it like
grill
every
it.
2 weeks at home. So I mean, I just put like almost like a barbecue sauce.
Yeah, you can do like a tofu burger, right?
Yeah. I mean, you can puree, like my wife makes like a blueberry like cheesecake for the holidays or stuff like that, so you can use it.
And I don't know if you guys have some ideas for patients who are really limited to non-meat protein.
Most of it Italian.
I'm
Well,
vegetarian. She's
So tell us what you guys do when you have a situation.
well, home, I have to be very, very creative. Not only do I have a husband that's lactose, gluten intolerant, he is diabetic. So I guess he's lucky he married
Married a
me.
dietitian.
So I have to be very creative. And in place of cottage cheese, I use tofu. You can take and make your wonderful lasagna by crumbling up the tofu in it. And you use a lot of, now I understand this is probably further along the line, you know, but you can make so many things just with tofu. And, you know, gluten-free, I make my own gluten-free bread at home. And that takes, I'm going to tell you, I'll be honest with you, I had to experiment many, many, many times, you know, till I got a recipe that I really do enjoy.
I mean, I love it.
So, you know, as far as, and lactose-free, you know, your rice milks are very good, your almond milk, whatever you prefer.
Yeah.
I use them, I make a pumpkin pie. In fact, there's, Karen had a really good, I haven't tried it yet, Karen, but I'm going to try it, sugar-free pumpkin pie. And I have one, I make at home that's lactose-free, and I have a crust recipe that's gluten-free. So, and my kids don't know the difference. That's all, well, yeah,
Yeah.
basically that's all I know. But It's real, you know, you have to be very creative, but you can do it. I promise you, you can do it.
Yeah.
And then the legumes as a whole group, and of course if you chop the vegetables and you can make patties and burgers with them, and you know, again, you can buy these ready-made, but when things are frozen, they do really lose some of the vitamins and minerals and the stuff that are good. So if you can really make time, and that's often the problem, a lot of us have the time, but at least you can try it. Weekends, if you're at home with your families, you can try and do that, and it is a lot of fun. I mean, I honestly, myself, I wish I had more time to do it because I enjoy it immensely. So weekends we try and do it, and then some nights if I get home at a little reasonable times, we cook a little bit. But to plan things out is something that is really helpful. And it just takes a little bit of organization. And I know for a fact some of you here are like that. When you plan it, and you almost plan your day and your week, and are very particular about the things that you prepare, it really reflects that down the line in your weight management and in your health. And it's interesting, I will tell you, a lot of the patients that I have that are engineers and are military staff from Edwards and the surrounding industries in this community, they really are very, very, very meticulous. Just because by the nature of their lives and their occupation, and they tend to really stick to things that they can operate very optimally. And they do very well. So it takes a lot of that initial input, and then once it becomes a routine, you'll manage it very well.
You know, another thing that you can do is that when you're cooking, and let's say it's Sunday, and you know, when you're making one dish, make a little bit more and put it away and put it in the freezer. You know, vegetarian items, they freeze very well. So, you know, keep that in mind.